Hey everyone, I am so glad to be here tonight with you. My name is Jen O'Sullivan and I've been doing top 10s with you and I hope you've been enjoying them. Some of them are sort of meant to be funny, but I'm realizing that a lot of you guys were like, no, they're not funny. I actually am learning something. So this one, it hits close to home for me. There's so many of you guys who are not with Young Living and that's totally fine. I am not saying Young Living is better, okay? I'm saying it's different. And part of my goal is to kind of help you decide which company is right for you or which oils you want to use, right? I mean, I know a lot of people use lots of different oil companies. So make sure you tag your friends in this one. I will be posting this in my author group as well, so you'll be able to have access to this to share with people that aren't in this group. But this group is open to anybody, so you can add anybody that you want to in this group. All right, so with that being said, I've been with Young Living for 11 years. It's not super long, but they've been around for 23 years, and so they're the longest standing direct sales company and one of the largest providers, actually the largest provider in the world of essential oils. So yeah, it's big, and I think there's this idea of they can't be that much different than everybody else. They're more expensive because they're an MLM, right? There's all that kind of wah-wah of it. It's not. To me, those things actually are interesting facts. So let's get right into it, because I think as we move forward through these 10 reasons that Young Living is different, it's going to help you understand maybe a little bit more about your company, maybe asking some questions about your company, and I hope this will be fun for you guys, okay? So we'll get right started. So I want you to invite your friends to this, so you can actually take this and share it. You can actually share this out. So I'm going to go on here and make sure I kind of can see some of your questions. I try to do this real fast, though, because these are meant to be fast. Okay, so I always want to make sure I'm in the right group too. Facebook has been having some funny jumping arounds lately, so I apologize for that, and I'm not sure why, but it is what it is. All right, so yay. All right, so there we are. Okay, good. All right, so number 10. All right. Young Living actually has the best free educational groups on the internet. And I'm kind of saying that a little bit jokingly because I'm including my group in that. But we have the largest, most active free educational resources on the internet, meaning it's just constantly throwing stuff at you. And Young Living has really good educational internet resources, and it's free, and it's for everyone. And what I mean by that is I know so many of these other online educators will block so many people if they don't agree. I don't block anybody in this group. Okay, I want you guys to feel like you can be in here, you can ask questions. I only block trolls, you're clearly a troll. But it's just interesting to hear so many people say that so many of the other education groups out there just block you if you disagree or have a different view. So, we have a good time in here, and I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the education. So we do. Young Living does have the best free education, so much so that every day about 200 or 300 doTERRA users join this group. And that just shows me that they need the education. They're not getting it anywhere else. And so I'm happy to provide that, okay? And again, we love our doTERRA user friends. We love our plant therapy friends. We love our Eden's Garden friends, our Florihana friends. I mean, there are so many oil companies out there. And so we're happy to have you here, okay? So no judgment on you. Okay. And no judgment on us, I hope, back at us. So number 9, our foundation. Again, we don't talk about the foundation too much in this group, but again, this is 10 reasons why Young Living is different. Our foundation is different than most every single donation-based company. These again, Young Living has a foundation that actually supports different schools and different programs to bring health into different third world countries. And we have massive, it's a massive foundation. But I bet you didn't know this one fact. This is what makes our foundation different than every other foundation, in the world, is that most foundations get their donations come in, and the donations have to also support the overhead. Does that make sense? Like you're donating to support flying the corporate people out and, paying their salaries and paying the office expenses, and all of that is overhead costs. Well, Young Living's different in that Young Living pays for all of that. Literally, Gary pays for all of the foundation expenses. And this is what is mind-blowing to me. 100% of any money that is donated to the foundation goes to the kids and the women and the different, like the actual needs of that foundation, right? It's crazy. I mean, it will make you cry. And so that's what I love about that. I'm so wary of giving to any, even like a lot of the Christian organizations, sadly, it's like, you know, well, what percentage is actually going to that mission? And it's like 40%, maybe, if you're lucky. So that is what, again, I just think it's amazing that's what our foundation does. So that's a very big difference to me. Okay, that's number 9. Number 8, and I'm going to promise you this is true, because I actually heard this from the lips of our chief science officer, okay? And this is important because I get some kickback on this. And you guys, I literally, the mouth of Mike Book said this, okay? And then he listed for me all the tests, and I wrote them down. And they're in this group, okay? So listen to this. This is big. Young Living tests more tests than any other company on the market. And I'm going to explain to you. I'm not going to go into all of them in detail, but I'm going to tell you the number. And it will blow your mind, okay? Young Living tests uses 18 to 20 different tests. And why I say 18 to 20 is because some of the tests are unnecessary on certain oils. Like, it wouldn't make sense to do them. But they do 18 to 20 different specific tests, okay, ready for it, on each batch in triplicate. That means the batch comes in and it takes like 2 weeks for like 20 to 30 different people to do all of these tests 3 times over on that one batch. You ready for it? 2 times in the process. So they do it 1 time in triplicate, and then right before it's bottled, and they do it a 2nd time in triplicate. Do you get the numbers on that? Okay? It's like 60 tests and 60 tests. It's 120. The oils that you get in your bottle have been tested 120 times before it goes to you. Okay? So even those numbers seem a little crazy. So even if I were to say, okay, well, we do 20 tests per oil, the actual test, right, in triplicate twice, but 20. Even the number 20 is far more than any other company on the market. I've called them all, the main ones, and I've not gotten above 7 on most of them. Literally 7. That's the most I can get. And I beg them. I'm like, I know you do more. Can you go back to your person and find out what else you do? I'm not kidding. Begging them to tell me. So it's a big deal. And if you go look in this group, you can actually find the 20 different tests Young Living does, and it's right there in black and white. Okay? All right. So number 7. Our partner farms. Now, this is a big thing too, because I know there's a lot of drama out there around this like lawsuit that Young Living, you know, can't possibly own all their own farms. Well, we never claimed to own our own farms. That was 10 years ago, okay? If you actually read the transcripts of the lawsuit wasn't about us, it was about another company. But the other company got into testimony the fact that we don't own all our own farms. Well, that was based on evidence that was like 10 years ago. They were actually discussing 10 years ago books. And again, I don't know what you were doing 10 years ago, but it was never claimed. There's misunderstandings there all over the board. And so when you actually look at our maps and everything that we do, like a lot of them are partner farms because we can't physically supply that much. But, and this is another number 6, but we're going to stay on number 7 real quick because I don't want to get into number 6. Our partner farms, the ones that we don't own, are rigorously monitored, okay, and trained, all right? I've talked to all the other companies, and they say we don't really care. We don't want to like micromanage them because it's what they do. We let them do what they do best, and we do what we do best. We test. So everybody says like, I don't care. I just want to make sure it's tested. But I will tell you right now, testing, and that's why Young Living does it in triplicate twice, right? 20 different tests in triplicate twice, because testing can be wrong sometimes. And also batches coming from another plant, like a farm. We've seen this happen all the time where they messed up the oil, it didn't come back right, so they add a synthetic in so that when you have it now in the States and you're using your machines, the fingerprint will look the same. It's very easy to fake a gas chromatography mass spectrometry test to make it look like the right fingerprint when it's actually not. And so that's what's curious about Young Living, is that they have, we use 3 different, actually it's 6 different, but third-party labs that are, that the FBI and the CIA use. Like, those are the companies that we use. They're not these random, like, I'm an oil person and I'm a testing agency now. Like, that is what other companies are using. They're using these third-party testers that aren't actually third-party testers. So you can rest assured that when we say third-party, we mean like federal government third-party, like straight up like Secret Service third party, like the people that are finding the Unabomber third party. That's who we use, okay? So, so number 6 is we actually own more farmland than all oil companies combined. If you were to take, like, Florihana owns their own farms and other distilleries, we own more distilling land on the planet than any other company, and all of them combined. Like, it's crazy how much land that we own, and we're constantly buying more because of some of the other reasons. And we're gonna get into number 5. Okay, so number 6 is that we just own more land, which means we can control it seed to seal. And I know that people are like, oh please, here comes the seed to seal. You guys, no company controls their seeds but Young Living. Controlling the seed. Think about that for a second. The seed dictates everything, the DNA of that plant. If you don't really know how to control that seed, you don't know what you're getting if it's slightly modified. Because this is what happens in France. You're going to get 90% of the lavender that's exported each year from France each year is not true lavender, okay? It's lavandin spiked with something else, right? It's like literally spiked with this this other synthetic to make it look like the true lavender. And it's not. Now, you know, it's like nobody knows the difference. And that's why we're all getting headaches from certain lavenders growing up, because it was fake. It was like a synthetic lavender. And so this is just a curious thing that happens all the time. And so owning that land helps you control it, which is a big deal. So number 5 is that when you start to understand the difference between wildcrafting versus cultivating, right? So this is that kind of idea of, and this, I hear this all the time, you guys, like, I want to use a company that only sources their oils from where it's indigenously grown, and I want it wildcrafted. Okay, there's a real big sustainability problem with thinking that way. The reason for that is that when you take climate and all of that, yes, indigenous areas is really important. But if you can find on the earth land where it's the same climate and generally same, you know, everything as far as it's going, you're going to get similar. That's why the lavender from Idaho is very, very close, actually, in my opinion, better than French lavender. So that's a specific thing to understand, that wildcrafting, and so this is something to truly understand when you understand cultivation, is that wildcrafting dictates that we're just going to kind of grab where it is. So that means that if the soil is rocky, the soil is rocky. If the soil is depleted, the soil is depleted. Like, we're just wild crafting. And that means that this plant could have grown on real shallow bedrock, meaning the bedrock is super shallow, and so it's just like sort of depleted land. So that means that the fingerprint of the actual oil molecular structure that comes back is going to be not great, okay? So they kind of batch it all together and you get sort of like a better batch then. But when you're dealing with cultivation, and this is what becomes so fascinating. So I was talking with a girl today who cultivates her own stuff, and I'm like, oh, that must be so much fun, right? But here's what's interesting. I remember going to the Utah farms, right? The lavender farms in Utah, and thinking, like, isn't this a lavender farm? I don't see any lavender. And it was like growing season. There was no lavender. And we're used to going every year and it's like just huge lavender. And Gary was talking to everybody and he's like, I bet you're wondering where all the lavender is. We're like, yeah. And he said, well, what we do that is so specific to cultivation that you don't get with wildcrafting or even indigenous areas, like when it's not this beautiful row cultivation, which some people think, oh, that's not beautiful, that's just man-made, right? It's not. What he said is that every certain number of years, I think it was like every 3 or 4 years, you're going to go there and there's not going to be any lavender because they're growing a different plant. It's a junk plant. It's a plant that they don't care about that will go in the grinders and go as mulch. But what it is it's a plant species that has the ability to root really deep and really fast. So they can grow this plant to about 3 or 4 feet tall, knowing that the roots are going to shoot about 60 meters down. It's just like shooting down into the earth. Then what they do when it's at the right time is they bring the tills in and they rip those plants up. They want to rip them out of the earth, okay? What that's doing is those roots that were really far down, think about that, really far down. Nobody can excavate down that far. Those roots are pulling up with it all of these beautiful micronutrients and minerals that is actually, rather than fertilizing, he's using the soil practices of growers. This is a growth practice to fertilize the land, to rejuvenate the land. That is true sourcing sustainability of cultivation, okay? And now you're getting a lavender that's now planted that is just like amazing, right? So that's kind of a big deal when you understand that. I know a lot of people think like they really want wildcrafting and they really want this kind of like more natural approach, but you're going to get less sustainable to the earth because you're depleting the natural resources, because now Gary can continue to replant and pull the earth and really, really care for the earth rather than, like basically kill it. So that's a big deal, and we don't want to ever put synthetic fertilizers in, and that's a huge deal. Okay, so let me make sure I'm getting on my list here. Okay, so that's one thing, is cultivation rather than wildcrafting. And so I think I'm getting mixed up on my numbers here, but I think we're on number 5. Is that no, we're on number 4. That we have higher than organic standards. Okay, so most people say, well, why doesn't Young Living have an organic label? Most companies don't, because organic doesn't mean much because you're on a different country, right? So most of the time we're actually pulling our oil sources from a different country. So to like then organic standard them, you can't, because the organic standards have to like go to the actual land, and they're not going to go to a different country. So when you start understanding organic standards, they are standards. And what standards mean is like here, it's like this is where you gotta hit. You gotta hit this mark to be organic standards. Young Living has gone above organic standards. Now, organic standards for growing states many different things, but some of them are, 4 years organic, 7 years organic, different companies have different standards. Young Living's land, all of the land that we use is 50 years organic, if not more, meaning it's never seen chemicals or synthetic chemicals. And so the organic standards that Young Living has is actually higher than organic standards. So I know that that's kind of a catchphrase of like, well, it should be organic. Well, just know, like, the oils that Young Living uses and sources and produces is higher than organic standards by a long shot. Okay, so that does take them into a completely different category than most oil companies. All right. So, shoot, I think we are on number 4 now. I lost my number count. This one's a longer one. I apologize, you guys. One of the biggest differences between Young Living and other companies is customer service. Most companies have customer service, and they will claim that they have really good customer service. What that means is, you're going to call up and ask a question, and you're going to get a person that speaks your language, that is nice and friendly and can answer your questions mostly. And why I say mostly is because, like, even Young Living's customer service is like a normal customer service. They're paid for like minimum wage people who answer the phones and are trained to be kind and trained to answer based on a book that they're given, like, because they can't give medical advice and all of that stuff, neither can we. But the biggest difference between Young Living and other companies, like you would call like Plant Therapy and Eden's Garden, I mean, they have beautiful customer service reps. I love talking to them, and I do, because I'm always asking like, okay, where are your tests, and they do. I think they know me by name by now. But that's the thing about those companies, is that they have great customer service. The difference between Young Living and them is that you're going to get concierge service. And that means that, let's say, like, again, I never sold this stuff. It was 11 years I was using oils, and then 2 years in, I'm like, okay, I guess, because all my friends are using them wrong, and so they were all asking me questions. And so now I've become one of the largest educators on any platform, and I love it. I enjoy giving you guys free information. And many of you guys have people in here who've added you. But if you don't know somebody who sells Young Living and you have no clue how to get them, guess what? I would be your concierge person. You would actually have my cell phone number. You would get into my private customer groups, and you would be able to contact me anytime. Like, all day long, I'm getting texts from my customers asking me, like, oh, what do I do with this? And I tell them, right? And we talk. And I'll get on the phone with them and say, what are you doing? What's going on? Did you get your kit? Like, I'm so excited. Let me help you unpack it. You know, like, that's concierge service. You're not going to get that from any other company. Okay, and you want that, you know. If you have a person in here that added you to this group and your person is a doTERRA rep, they're similar in that. Okay, so similar, you're going to get that similar experience of just having concierge service. And I hope those doTERRA reps are giving. I hope the Young Living reps that are in this group are giving that kind of white glove customer service. Okay, because that sets us apart. That's what direct sales is all about. Okay, so even though I'm saying that's why Young Living is different from all other online companies. There is one other company that provides that too. Okay, just to be fair. All right, so oh, see, I did mess up, didn't I? I'm on number 2. You guys gotta keep me moving here. All right, I'll probably have to do this one over because I hate it when I mess up on numbers. It's because I wanted to go in a different order. I changed my order on the fly, which messes me up. Okay, so number 2. And I'm gonna make sure I am on number 2. Yes, I'm on number 2. All right, so number 2. This is a reason for why Young Living oils are different, okay, and different than any other company on the planet, okay, and this is a no joke, I've seen it, okay. They add frequency to the growth process. Now, I know so many of you guys are going to ask where, how, all of that question. I can't answer it. What I have seen is I've seen Gary present all of his findings of testing. And I love horticulture. I love growing stuff. I love seeing like science of how roots form. And he showed a series of just amazing photographs, like of the same plant species where he added frequency during different parts of the growth process, or didn't, right? Either kept it back or added it. And he found out that one area during certain growth process, if he added frequency, and you're going to ask what he used, he talks about the Rife machine. So he has like a bunch of Rife machines. When they were legal to buy, he bought a bunch of them. And he adds frequency, and I'm sure he would kill me if he knew I was like sharing this live or whatever, but he shared it in a fairly open forum with a lot of us distributors. So he adds frequency to the growth process. Now, what that does is it allows the roots to grow stronger, which in turn allows the fruits or the leaves and the flowering tops or whatever it is that plant has to grow fuller. And so that adds to our depth and breadth of action that you can't get anywhere. You can't. No other company does that. None. Okay, so that's a big difference. It's why a lot of people do claim that Young Living is like, has this interesting, different, it like kind of works a little deeper. Okay, so that's number 2. The number 1 reason that Young Living is different, and I want you to catch this one. If you get no other point, I want you to get this point. Okay, are you ready? Young Living is the only company on the market. I can't say only. There's one other company that I know, some of their oils they don't do this with either. But it's the only company that across the board does not modify their oils. And what I mean by that is they don't fractionate them. If you take, say, milk and you make it 2%, you've now fractionated it. They basically distill the milk and cut off the fat, you know, and they'll cut off a percentage of it. And they'll do fat-free where they take it all out, right? What they're doing with the milk is they're taking out the heavier molecules, that fat, to make it fat-free. So now your milk, whole milk, has become like blue milk, right? And you're like, what? It's like thin. That is called fractionating, okay? Just like your carrier oil, fractionated coconut oil, and you guys ask me all the time, why, Jen, don't you use fractionated coconut oil? And I always say, because it's fractionated. And you'll be like, I don't know what that means. Look it up. What it is they're taking all of those heavy molecules and they're wiping them out so that it's now left with just the oily stuff. So it's real liquidy, so it doesn't harden. That's what fractionation is. So most companies on the market, most good companies, while they're still pure, they're fractionated. And I'm going to say, if you go to my 17 oils list, everybody on that list but two, and it's Floridana. You guys are going to ask me which ones. It's Young Living and Floridana. Floridana, there's several oils in their lineup that have not been fractionated, but a lot of them have. And what that is, so I'm going to explain it to you, and I hope you understand this. Do not use that tea bag analogy. That is not what fractionation is. That is not what double distillation is. Everyone thinks that there's this idea that, oil companies will distill oils multiple times and then it becomes sweeter. They're just getting their verbiage wrong a little bit. So it's not like a tea bag, that has been used and then you put it in another cup and that's what a second distill is. That is the worst analogy you could use. What it is like is this. This is not what it's like. This is what it is. And again, I've talked to many of the scientists on many different, from many different companies, and they all are like, yeah, this is a common practice, okay? Again, you got to know what questions to ask, and this is why I think it's so fascinating in this oil industry is they'll tell you, like, no, we use first distill oils, because they're assuming you're asking about the distillation of the plant life. And they'll tell you nobody double distills plant life, except us in the case of clary sage, but that's a completely different, like, one element. Side note. But when you understand the fact that the oils are distilled hopefully properly, right? We want to hope that these people know what they're doing, all these companies, right? And they do. They have good oils. What happens is afterwards, and you have the batch of oils, they're going to like skim the fat off. What that means is they're thinking, you know what? You as a consumer really would like a better smelling oil, right? Because it's aromatherapy. We want it to smell better. We want that emotional connection to the oils to be just more like I'm at home. Like when you smell cookies baking, you're just like, love it, right? So it's the same concept. And I get why the aromatherapy industry has done this, especially here in the United States. Floridana is not in the United States, so that's why I know most of them are like pure botanicals. But without that frequency added, which again makes a huge difference. But what happens is that the aromatherapy industry here in the States decided that we really are only using oils aromatically, like in a diffuser, and maybe topically, but in real small amounts. So it's really more about the aroma rather than that deep, deep therapy, okay? And so what everybody does is they've taken out the heavier molecules. So they'll take eucalyptus and they'll double distill the oil or even triple distill it, meaning they'll distill it, trim the fat, distill it again and trim the fat, and maybe even a third time. And that's the oil. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to create a more pleasant aroma smelling oil rather than a dark and deep and dirty smelling constituent based oil, meaning those sesquiterpenes that are heavy, okay? And that does, smell them. You'll smell this kind of like lavender that's just sweet and kind of like your mouth waters, and lemon. Their lemon oil smells like sweet lemon. All of these companies. So like compare them. I just encourage you to compare them. Like buy a couple Eden's Garden. Like they're good pure oils. Buy a few doTERRA. Buy a few from Plant Therapy. They're good pure oils. It's a matter of how you want to use them. So they're still going to have some therapy to them. They are. We can't say that they've taken out the therapy. They've changed it. So some of you might want 2% milk. Some of you want fat free, and some of you are like, I'll have the full fat, please. Like that's just what you use for how you use it. Okay. So why Young Living is different is like Gary decided early on that he was not interested in like bending to the whim of the customer. And I think many of you guys have felt this before when you're like, where is our valor? Or why aren't we having spikenard anymore? Or why aren't, these are sore subjects, but it's like, what in the world? Like, where is my, like I'm so mad that purification is now only in a 5 ml because again, he's not going to like get some oil that has been double distilled just so that you're happy. He wants to make sure that these are true botanicals. So when I smell peppermint from all the other 17 brands that I've tested, like these 16 other brands and then Young Living's, it's like night and day. Like weird night and day. And again, it's because ours smells kind of dirty. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just what it is. So then I think, okay, fine. I get it. I get why everybody wants the better smelling oils. But then I'm like, but they don't work the same, right? There's an absolute difference in a fractionated oil. when you use it, it's still pure, like milk is still milk. But when I use like any of these, right? And this is funky, right? Like frankincense is frankincense, but it's not. There's 3 different like main types of frankincenses. And I'd really like to know which one it is so that I know which constituents are in it, right? Because sacred frankincense, I've done this post before with you guys. Sacred frankincense is very different than regular frankincense. Very, okay? Very. And there's 3 different types, right? So it's like, well, which ones do what? And you'd like to kind of know. And so other companies put them all together. You don't really know what you're getting. So it's not actually frankincense, it's a blend of frankincense. You know, like Josh Axe does that. It's a frankincense trinity or whatever he calls it. And I know doTERRA does that too. Like, they don't have true, like, one frankincense. It's 3 together. So then it's kind of like, okay, but that's kind of now, I don't really know what I'm getting. Like, I want to know that I'm getting the true, full botanical. And when I can test them side by side, like, you can't really test like Josh Axe's or Numa, I guess the name of that brand, Numa, or doTERRA's frankincense against any of the Young Living ones, because they're 2 different, like you're testing a blend against a single species botanical. So it's not apples to apples. It wouldn't even, you can't compare that. So I would say if you're really wanting to compare and see kind of what this means, I'd encourage you guys to do a true side-by-side test on single species botanicals, meaning like single species frankincense, or you can't do that because a lot of you guys here are from those companies. So do like single species peppermint, lavender, tea tree, lemon, eucalyptus, like, you know, whatever. Pick the ones that you want that are apples to apples comparison. Make sure it's the same name, right? It's not like you're doing sweet orange and then bitter orange. Like, it has to be the same apples to apples, okay? And then what I have noticed across the board, and I do them consuming, so I make sure that the companies I'm testing are pure first, and I do some different tests to kind of see if they're pure. And if they test on my body as pure, and in my head, because I get major headaches to anything synthetic, I will do an internal test just to see. And it's really interesting to me to see, and I use these 2 terms all the time. Aromatherapy industry will call it authenticity. I call it depth and breadth of action. I am looking for true depth, meaning it's working deep. Whatever that therapeutic action is supposed to be, I want to feel it deep. I don't want to feel it surface and then have it flit away. And then I want to feel it broad, right? So I want to feel it deep and like just this length of time, like I can feel it for a while. I don't want my body to just kind of metabolize it out really fast, right? We want it to really work therapeutically. And when I say that like Young Living is cheaper than every other brand on the market, I'm gonna stand by those words, because even though dollar for dollar, bottle to bottle, they're more expensive, they're actually the cheapest drop for drop on the market. And why I say that is because I can use 1 drop of Young Living peppermint compared to every other brand, and that drop is going to last longer in my body, and it's going to work deeper, okay? That's one element why drop for drop it's way more expensive, because I'm going to have to keep adding every other brand like every 2 hours to my body to feel it, whereas Young Living I can keep it, it's like 4 hours, I can still feel it. The other element is in my diffuser, just the scent of it. If I drop for drop, I used to like hoard orange. I love orange oil. I love the smell of it. We diffuse it downstairs all the time, and it's like orange oil, like yay. So I would buy like a brand from Sprouts because it was really cheap, and I would put it in my diffuser, and I would have to put about 15 drops of orange oil in that diffuser to get the same aroma in the room that I would have to use 4 from Young Living. So when I actually did the math on it, that other oil was more expensive, and I was basically just throwing it away because it just did, drop for drop, Young Living is cheaper. 1 drop is 1 serving. So that was like a little bit of an 11th reason, but I want you guys to realize that every company is different, and that was 10 reasons why Young Living is different. I did not use the word better, okay, and that's important to note. It's different, and it's important for you to figure out what elements are important to you in a company. Why are you looking to use essential oils? And if your reason for using essential oils matches up with these 10 reasons, then I encourage you to contact the person who told you about this group and get started like yesterday. Like literally get your kit yesterday. It's so inexpensive to join Young Living. They give you like 55% off your first order. crazy pants. You can get like over $800 worth of oils for only $360. It's like unheard of. Or you can just kind of get your foot wet and do the $160 kit that's $325 worth of product for only $160. Like, it's nuts, and you get a like free diffuser with that. So I encourage you just to try it. You know, if nothing else, it's worth a try because they really are different. Okay, so I hope this was helpful for you. I've totally lost my voice now. Back-to-back teachings tonight. But this is a little longer post, but again, I think it was more helpful for some of you guys. So I might do it again because I messed up on the order. So I apologize for that, but I think this would be fun. So, all right, you guys, we'll see you soon. Bye.